Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. We are excited to be here connecting with you to talk about our Wake Forest Spirit programs. I have 12 o'clock here, so we are going to go ahead and jump right in and go through our agenda so we can get through as many questions as possible. A couple of just overall reminders for you as we go through this call today. Each of your phones will be muted for the entire call. We do have a number of questions that were submitted in advance. So we will monitor the chat as well. If you have a question, feel free to submit those in the Q&A feature. And we will do our best to address those during the call. And if not, we'll follow up with you after the call has been completed. We are excited today to have our new Director of Spirit and Fan Engagement here, our Director of Spirit Programs and Events, Christy Creson. We're going to jump right in and actually ask her to kind of give us some background on herself. So, Christy, if you wouldn't mind, just we're so excited to have you a part of the family. Would love to have you talk about your experience in jumping right in and coming to Wake Forest and what your path to get to Wake Forest.
Sure, yes, thank you. I'm excited to be here. So I have spent the last 33 years in the cheer and dance world. So I have cheered and danced at every level personally. But for the last 10 years, I was at Alumni University where I was the spirit team coordinator for cheer, dance, and mascots. We also, in 2019, won the NCAA Game Day Division II National Championship. And Game Day was the main focus for us at Alumni, and that's why we went into a competition to compete in Game Day as well. And so I know that was a big shift here of just really amplifying the Game Day at Wake Forest. So I was very excited for this opportunity to come to Wake Forest. I also had experience as an NFL and an NBA cheerleader, and so I think that experience also being on the sidelines has been a great opportunity to bring some of those aspects here for Game Day at Wake Forest. I've really enjoyed being here at Wake, and another fun fact, my uncle actually is an adjunct professor here in the business school. So he was a huge Wake Forest fan and was a huge advocate for me to come to Wake Forest. And my mom's family is originally from Winston-Salem as well. So it really felt like a community I really wanted to be a part of and be involved in.
Thanks so much. And we are so excited to have you here and already the great things you are doing for our spirit programs. We'd love also to have you just talk about, it's such a unique year. Both in how you're managing everything, every aspect of the program, with probably the biggest change just being the involvement on game days and all those things, which we'll get into a little bit later. But would love to just have you talk about maybe what processes have you put in place to manage and make sure your team is staying safe and healthy as you practice and go through the season.
Well, that's definitely a top priority. So you will not see a cheerleader, a dancer, or a mascot not wearing a mask. That's definitely a priority at Wake Forest and a priority for the spirit team to make sure that our safety is put first and that we're doing everything the Wake Forest way as well. So we wear masks the entire practice, which wasn't easy at first, but I think they've kind of adjusted a little bit better now to having to do such physical activity while wearing a mask, but they've done a great job of that. They also take extra sanitary precautions, and we social distance as much as possible, just to make sure that we're safe on all ends. And then we have had a couple girls that have had to go into isolation. They've followed the exact protocol from the university, but we've done great. We've had 0 positive cases on campus, so for the spirit program, and so it's been really great. And I think the girls took it very serious, and the guys, and made sure that our spirit team was safe at all times.
Great. Yeah, it's always fun to go out and watch practice, and I will back Christy up that they are always wearing their mask and keeping their distance when they are not in the middle of something, of a routine or a practice, and doing a great job even just in their formation of keeping their distance as well. Well, looking back a few weeks ago, you had a quick start to the year. No bigger way to start your time at Wake Forest than hosting College Game Day. And, I think you've been here about 3 months now from when you came on board this past summer. Maybe talk about just that experience and what it was like to come in and have College Game Day and hosting Clemson as your first event at Wake Forest, and also the first event in this new time we're in right now.
Yeah, so that was such an exciting opportunity. So our first 2 weeks, we actually, and we'll kind of dive into this deeper, but we are doing a lot of filming so that we still have opportunities on game day. So in 2 weeks, the cheerleaders and dancers, we put together an entire pregame show. If you're an alumni, if you've gotten to see it on the virtual ticket opportunity to see the pregame, it's very different than what they've done in the past. So we changed things up a little bit, but they learned that in 2 weeks and came in there and did an excellent job. Then on top of that, they walked right into college game day. So it was an amazing opportunity for them to be on such a national stage and, you know, to come in kind of guns a-blazing and ready to go on our first game with such a big audience was really exciting. And I think they just all kind of stepped into that role, and we kind of tried to create as many dynamic formations as we could to stand behind the stage and get them a lot of national recognition during college game day. And I think everything went really well. And I think Rhett, we can maybe talk about this too, but like they said, they learned a lot from college game day of like what we did back there. So that way it would make it better for future games.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll add on that a second for you, Christy. So, you know, obviously we were the first college game day of this COVID era. And so there was a lot of learning from both sides, from our side, how we were going to make the event exciting and engage fans in a virtual setting, and also from ESPN side and actually managing the event. And so one thing you probably don't know if you're watching from home, there was a real challenge for our band and our spirit groups was during the entire college game day, no one who was behind the stage could see or hear anything from the broadcast. So I'll tell you, I was standing on the side of the stage and watching Christy running back and forth to the front where the only small TV screen was, back to tell the spirit programs and the band what to do. They have since adjusted that for the spots they've gone to since. They did not see a need when they were planning for this year of college game day to bring their large screen and audio system, but there was no video or audio communication with the band or spirit, so they had no idea what was happening or being said. So they did a great job of reacting in a very unique setting that college game day I think learned from quickly and have adjusted for their the rest of their events this year. We'll kind of dive in a little bit to just your weeks outside of that great start we had to the year. Maybe walk us through just what a typical week looks like for you and for your program.
Yes, I think one of the biggest changes is that my position became full-time. So I'm sitting in on the meetings about game day and fan experience and how to make that better. So I think that has been a huge adjustment, you know, for me to walk into this program. And I think it's been great. I think it makes sure that spirit is always part of the conversation and that we're getting all the opportunities that are available to us. So, you know, I'm in the office every single day, Monday through Friday, and then we have practice as well. One big, and I don't know if we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I can kind of dive into, we have a weekly Google Doc that has all of our schedule, and that's been really great for the girls to manage their time well. But one change that I've added this year is that I give them an agenda. So I make sure to update that every day. If I get new information, it's all in one place for them, but also give them an agenda for practice of what practice will look like so they know the expectations and what we plan to accomplish in those practices. And they are practicing 3 times a week right now. So we have 2 night practices and one we do 6 a.m.s on Friday mornings.
To add to one thing Christy said there, just for you all to know as well, you know, the change we were able to make with this of moving her to a full-time role has been vital, especially in this year. Mm-hmm. Christy's been able to be a huge advocate for the spirit programs and meetings, and just as we're trying to figure out this new world we're all in right now, just being able to have a person that is around and ever present in these meetings to really advocate for the program, for when it comes to practice, when it comes to training, when it comes to game days. Christy's done an outstanding job of building relationships already and being able to really be a great advocate for the team to make sure that they can be as involved as possible in this unique year. So it's been a great adjustment for us, and we appreciate all the support of each of you who have helped in making that happen. And talking about those on the call today and just the foundation of the program, you know, what is the impact of all these former members of the program, and what do they mean to the foundation that was built and to your current team?
Sorry, my computer muted there. You know, that sets the foundation for the entire program. Like, I didn't want to come in here and change tradition. I wanted to make those traditions better. And I feel like every cheerleader and dancer kind of has led the path for where we are now. And I think they can continue to help, make it better. So one thing I do want to implement is I want to have in the future, when restrictions are lifted, be able to bring those alumni back, bring back cheerleaders and dancers, and have them come to a practice with us, come do a performance with us. So that way they are, instrumental in making it a great season. And I feel like you see those cheerleaders and you get to come back and have that camaraderie that you had when you were part of the team. I think that's just kind of what it's all about. And they've definitely laid that foundation for us. And I think it's just so important to have them accessible to the current cheerleaders and dancers and what that means for them to be a Wake Forest cheerleader and dancer.
A couple of questions that were submitted in advance I'll ask you here for a second, Christy. Dwight Lewis asks, one of our guiding principles at Wake Forest is to create a world-class student-athlete experience. How do you feel that's being carried out through your cheer and dance program?
I love that statement. I think the most important thing is that they are treated as a Division I student athlete. I think that's the most important thing. What the skills and everything that we're implementing into our program are extremely athletic. It takes a true athlete to do what they do out there. And I think that's so important. But I think it's the student part that's just as important as well. You have to put the student first, the athlete second. And I will say, like, this group of young lady and young men, they are exceptional students, and they make sure that they are taking everything that they need to do to be a great student. And I think that's just kind of the Wake Forest way that I've learned is, academics are so strong here, and they definitely put school first. But I think it's so important that being an athlete too makes you such a well-rounded student too.
And another question came in from Corey Tanner, who's a 2016 member of the program, a graduate of the program. She asked, what's your favorite thing about the program this year?
I've loved seeing how they've kind of adjusted this year. There's been a lot of change. They are going into all these COVID restrictions. They've gone into a new coach. There's a lot of new changes, but I felt like they've adjusted so well, and they've grown so much as a program already. I've seen them, working harder and harder for a goal and trying to make the program better. And I feel like they've adjusted so well, but just love seeing how much effort they've put into the program this year.
And that's a great segue into the next question I had for you, which is just how has this transition been for the team being back on campus and, practicing again and trying to juggle the rigors of the academics here at Wake Forest? Just that transition being back on campus after, having been away for the summer and the late spring semester.
They've loved it. They have said that this has been a lot of their classes are still online and Zooming. And so they feel like cheer and dance is such an outlet for them that they actually, are coming out of their rooms or out of the library or different things, and they're getting to be active and be around people. I think that's been a really positive thing for them. But also I've appreciated, we talked about, different protocols we've done for their health and safety. They've taken it so seriously because they also know what it's like to have to go home, and they've seen other schools go home, and they've really taken every precaution necessary to make sure that they're doing everything that Wake Forest is asking them so they can stay in school.
That's great. Earlier, you mentioned a little bit about your weekly schedule and how things are operated, but maybe dive for a minute a bit deeper into just how you manage practices and, how you manage it with your schedule of practice in all three programs, really.
Yeah, so we do have practice all together, and so we have practice from 7 to 9:30, and so from 7 to 9 is either dance teams learning new choreography. So one change, I'm not sure if you're a former dancer on this call had done, they are doing new choreography almost every single week, and we're filming it. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about all the filming opportunities that we've had, but the dance team has been doing an extremely amazing job of learning this new choreography and learning it very quickly. So we're always putting out fresh content. But for dance, it's been a lot of learning choreography. And then we're also working on all of our skills as well for dance. And then the last 30 minutes for everyone, I'll go into cheer in a little bit, but the last 30 minutes is conditioning every single practice. So that looks like a lot of different things, whether it's a HIIT workout, we do run a lot of stadiums. We run a lot and do a lot of different things. And they've really enjoyed having those workouts added to their practice. For cheer, normally on their agenda, I break it up if we're going to be doing a focus on partner stunts, focus on pyramids, focus on baskets. We go through each thing. So I would say the majority of our practice is focused on stunting. And then we usually will spend anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, usually once a week, sometimes every other week on tumbling. And then if we have material to learn. So we've been doing some filming for our virtual ticket holders as well, and doing these pep rallies on Friday nights. So we've been doing some different material for cheerleaders to learn as well. But we could try to keep it extremely structured and timed, so that way we're accomplishing everything that was on the agenda for the week.
You alluded to this next kind of question in that answer a little bit, but I think just to even dive deeper into it, COVID has impacted so much of just our ability to operate normally in so many ways. And that is nothing different for the Spirit programs as well, because that's really impacted them as well. How have you adjusted to keep your teams visible and involved in a time where maybe we aren't in a normal circumstance with having such limited field access and sideline access and those kind of things? How have you adjusted to keep them involved and keep them visible to our fans?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is to stay positive. To me, there's always a solution. There's never just problems. So I feel like, obviously there's a lot of things that came at us that we were not allowed to do. So we came up with a whole list of solutions of what we can do to make this fantastic for our fans and for their experience as well. As a cheerleader or dancer, you want to be given those opportunities. So I want to make sure that if there was an opportunity for them to be filmed at some point, they have done it. So we have worked really well with our whole visual department, just of getting these great material filmed. So the dance team is filming a third quarter routine every single home game. We're also, like we talked about, again, for the virtual pep rallies on Friday night on the virtual season ticket holder, we're doing a virtual pep rally every week of a home game. So we have them coming in and filming at practice, or we're going over to the stadium and filming as well. And then we film pregame. So lots of opportunities, lots of filming. The girls say they always feel like they're in a music video, and they're, and the great thing is it's very different than just filming something that would just be on the field that, you would see on the Jumbotron. This is everything can be edited in a way to make them, put their best foot forward. And so they have to not do the routine one time. A lot of times we'll do 10 takes of the dance team, so we can get different angles and showcase and highlight different dancers throughout the dance. So that part they've loved, and it's been really exciting for them, and I think it's gave them a lot more opportunities. So that I'm sure most people know the ACC made a rule that the cheerleaders and dancers, Spirit team members, could not be on the field. And so we are very fortunate that we have Beacon Hill. And so if you've been to a game or seen social media presence, we take up the entire front half of the field, and then band is behind us. And it's really been a great opportunity. We've made it what it is. Dance is still able to do everything that they did before on the platforms. Cheer, unfortunately, can't stunt on the heel because it is on an incline, but they've been doing a great job of just, still trying to engage the fans we have and, make a huge presence on that hill. And I think visually it's been, very great for the fans that we do have, because they still have access to see everyone in part of the program.
Yeah, and just to add some information there too, in case you aren't familiar with kind of the rules. So what Christy dealt with, that you came on board here right off the bat, was some rulings from the ACC that said basically there can be no field access at all for anyone outside of the team bubble, essentially. And then also there's a distance requirement for how close you can be to the field. So if you look at the stadium, you may see stadium tarps covering seats that protect the distance from the players on the sideline to the seating area. One thing that's unique about Truist Field is just how close the team bench area is to the front row of seats, and also the previous platforms, which impacted our ability to use those platforms this year, just as close as they were to the team. What's great, though, as Christy mentioned, is because we do have Beacon Hill, there's a number of schools that do not have their cheer or their band in their venue. Virginia Tech, for example, their cheerleaders, their spirit programs are all at their baseball stadium next door, and they're being piped in on the video board during play throughout the game. And so we are appreciative of our staff here and working with us and working with Christy to find a solution to allow our spirit programs to still be inside the stadium. We did have a question come in as you were talking through that, Christy, just about, as fans start coming to more and more to games, are we going to make changes to our performance or how we do things? I'll answer the front part of that for you from a logistical and ACC rule standpoint, if you want to talk about kind of the ways you would look to engage fans more as they are in the stadium versus having an empty stadium. From an overall rule standpoint, our location itself cannot change this year. We are going to be restricted to the Beacon Hill area. which again is a great opportunity for us, and even having that opportunity. We have found ways, Christian's done a great job finding ways to move the spirit programs around the stadium for the team. Maybe you could talk about it, the team intro in a second as well, Christian, how you added that after week one, the location they are at Bridger. But from a physical location standpoint, unfortunately, as the state rules change regarding capacity limitations and increasing our capacity gradually, we are at 2,200 right now, if you aren't aware. The ACC rules as far as access to some of those areas is not changing this season. And so we are still limited in what we can do. But anything you want to add there as far as, ways you look to maybe continue to engage fans and get more involved in that aspect now, having fans back in the stadium, even at a limited capacity?
Yeah, and I think somebody asked about, I saw it pop up about having the dancers on, flatter ground. So unfortunately, there's just not a place that we can go. Like, this was the best opportunity for us. And the dance team has really adjusted well. Like, it's not ideal, but again, it's a solution over a problem. And so I feel like it's been, they've honestly been able to execute every sideline dance that they would have done on the platform. So that's been kind of great for their angle. But I noticed first game, the team ran out, and normally we would have had the dance team, the cheerleaders cheering them on and running the flags. And so there is the tunnel where there's a big bridge over where the football team will be coming through to come out. And so we've implemented to have dance team and cheerleaders up there and cheering on the team as they come in. And it just felt a little bit more interactive for them. And then on the hill, we're still running the flag. So we're still implementing a lot of the same things we would have done. And then now that we've added fans back in the stadium, at all the gate entrances, you will be able to see cheer and dance as well. And cheer's been be able to throw a couple of stunts in that area because they will be on a flat surface. And dance team is going to be doing some dances at Gate 5 this weekend. So we're going to have a lot of opportunities. You'll be able to see them a little bit more. Every week I come up with something new and creative. So who knows what they'll be next game.
I will commend Christy on that. Christy's done an outstanding job of just finding ways to adapt to these unique circumstances. Obviously, we all cannot wait to get back next season to a more normal situation of having everybody back in their normal locations. One thing I'll add about the hill that's been beneficial for us is there are some rule changes this year as well about camera positioning. And so it worked out well that actually most of our cameras in the stadium are on the opposite end of the stadium from Beacon Hill. And so if you're watching on TV broadcast, you will see them more by that positioning this year because the camera locations from the ACC rules for this year. So that's been a positive for us as well. Great job, Christy, and continue to adapt to that each and every week. A question we had come in from Carolyn Garber, who's an 85 member of the program, talks about, are we interested in increasing the number of male cheerleaders and having 6 main partner stunt couples for football and basketball? I know you would love to answer this question. That's a big goal of yours.
Yeah, so growing co-ed is one of my top goals and priorities for cheerleading. We really want to see it grow into a full co-ed program. So we currently have 4 guys. And so, the co-ed program has really stepped it up this year already. And just the skill sets that they're able to execute I've been very impressed with how quickly they have adapted and learned new skills. And so next year, I would love for at least 21, 22, I would love to get to 6 couples. Like, that's my next year goal. So I think it's a great question. So hopefully we'll get some more guys interested and some top girls, and, we'll be able to continue to grow that co-ed program.
Great. We're going to look a little bit ahead for a few minutes here. As you've come into the program, coming in as a new leader of the program, from the student athlete side, are there key leaders who've established themselves and really helped you in this transition? And, who have emerged in that role over the last few months as you've been a part of the program? Yeah,
so we have some tremendous seniors on this team who have been wonderful leaders who've stepped up for different things. They normally have leadership roles anyways that was previously established on the team. I've adopted that into this year. I think it's worked really, really well. They do cover different areas of organization to community service to different things. So I feel like that has they've already done a great job of that. So one thing I am implementing starting this month, we're going to have a leadership council with our juniors, and they will be meeting with myself and the seniors, and it's going to be a great way to transition them into leaders for next season. And it's a way for them to talk about ideas for the program. They feel heard, they feel seen, they feel like they're, really an essential part of the program. And it's a way for me to hear new ideas. Like, I learn from them every day as well. So I think we're going to be starting that, and we'll have one each month with our leadership council with juniors and seniors.
What are you most excited about just for this fall and the winter as you look ahead for your program and the growth, the chances you have, and the just what's your priorities for this year ahead?
Yeah, so I think it's just right now we're focusing on finishing out content for football because football is going to go all the way through December now. And so I think also just putting out great content for basketball. We still don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we know we're going to still have opportunities to film. So we're already working on choreography for dance and cheer. But I think it's just continue to grow. Like everything needs to always move forward. I never want to take a step backwards. I want to always push the program to go bigger and better. And, my goal is, this is an ACC Division I program and we should be the best. And I know it's going to take, the girls and guys that are on the team now, alumni help to keep pushing and pushing and pushing it forward. And so when people think of Wake Forest Spirit, like, they're like, oh, wow, like that's a phenomenal program. Like I want my daughter, my son to cheer dance there. So I feel like that's going to be where I see that program going, continuing in the future.
What are just your long-term goals? If you're looking way ahead and you're like, hey, this is where I want us to get to, what are your long-term goals for the program?
Yeah, so I mean, specifically for cheer, I would love to see it turn into 2 teams. Like I would love a full co-ed program. So like I would love 12 guys, 10 top girls, and then an all-girl program. I think it's great to be able to split up against multiple sports. You have this team that goes to volleyball, this team's at basketball, and you can it helps with scheduling too. And then for travel purposes, it's really easy to travel with co-ed as well. And I think it just makes a huge presence. And if you look at Division I cheerleading programs across the country, co-ed is a huge presence. And I think that's what makes you look collegiate and gives you a very collegiate cheerleading image and makes people want to come to your school and cheer and dance. But for the dance team this year, to be honest, they are a phenomenal group of dancers. So I feel like they have a very talented group. I think it's just continuing to keep that expectation and that growth. I've loved working with dance this year. So I think what's unique about me is I have a cheer and a dance background. I'm not just specific to cheer. And so I've done both in my life. And this group of dancers, I just want to see it continually get stronger and better because they're phenomenal this year.
Thank you. They are. It's great to see their excitement too in the videos each week and still finding ways to get them involved in those. I know a new program, a new initiative you're working on right now to roll out very shortly is the Mini Deeks program. Love to have you talk about that and how you think what your goals are for that, what it does for the program. Just talk about the Mini Deeks program you're starting up.
Yeah, so I actually just launched it right before this call. So it's on our social media as we speak, and registration is open. So I'm very excited. So the Mini Deeks is going to be for ages 4 to 12. And the new this year, so they've had a sort of a junior cheerleading program in the past, but the Mini Deeks is going to be open for cheer and dance. So like a little girl can choose to be in the dance track or she could be on the cheerleading track. So she would get to choose which program best suits her needs. If she's a dancer at a local studio, she might want to go on the dance track. If she loves cheerleading, then she can have that opportunity. And so right now we're going to be strictly virtual content. So they're going to get social media highlights and we'll be introducing all our Mini Deeks, and we're going to be doing some things over Zoom and different things with the current cheerleaders and dancers. And I do have a leadership council for both teams that each team will have a leadership for the Mini Deeks. And then we also have the Baby Deeks, which I'm excited about. So we'll have from ages 0 to 3. Obviously, they're not going to be performing from 0 to 3, but they will have an opportunity to have a replica uniform and just be part of our Baby Deeks program. And if restrictions are lifted, we love to showcase them in basketball season. But we're going to be teaching them the Wake Forest traditions. So if they come to the games, they might know the fight song or they might know cheers, and they'll know the Deacon spell out. They'll know some of our rich history. And I think it makes them a better Wake Forest fan, and their families are more involved. And we're creating Mini Deeks from when they're little, and that way they grow up with that love of Wake Forest.
This is a thing that Christy's done a great job in starting up and getting going as we're, when she came on board, one of the things we really discussed is what are some new things we can put in place to help drive further engagement, to drive further revenue for the program, to help build a sustainable program for the future. And so Christy's done a great job finding new opportunities for that. Maybe also for a second, Christy, in speaking about things you've done and your goals coming in, one of your large goals that you've had is just increasing that social presence too and your engagement from that perspective. Maybe talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so we're going to be working on some changes on the website just so it's a bigger presence, and you'll be able to see the current. They have a photo shoot scheduled already, so you'll get to see the current cheerleaders and dancers hopefully pretty soon, updated on the website. And I think just increasing that social media presence across the board, where our Wake Forest fans, of course, are looking at us. But I want to increase that engagement for those high school girls. So for a recruiting aspect, maybe they love Wake Forest as a school, but they weren't thinking of it for Spirit. They'll start paying more attention because that's such a huge outlet to be able for a recruiting tool. But also just for the cheerleading and dance world in general, just increasing that attention that you're getting in social media, I think is really huge to increase your level for your program.
We had a question come in from Nikki. You mentioned a little bit about this earlier. I think it'd be great for you to even dive in this a little bit further. But the question was, would you be open to alumni participating in a quarter of a game or a portion of a game in the future when COVID restrictions are lifted?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I want to do as soon as we're able to do. I just think it's awesome to be able to come back. As a former cheerleader and dancer myself, I love alumni games. Like, you all of a sudden get to be a cheerleader again. Like, after, you're a mom one day, you're like, and, it's just fun to be able to go back and, be a part of something that was so special to you, especially in college. I feel like being a college cheerleader and dancer is such a special memory for you, and you want to relive that every year. So I definitely would love to have a practice open to all of our alumni and have an alumni game where they're performing and everyone can see the history of our program.
We had a few questions come in from Alex Smith, who was a 2018 graduate of the program as well. I'll ask you a few of these, Christy. The first question was, how do you feel your transition has gone in terms of meshing your personal style and your experience throughout your entire career with the established styles that already exist here for cheer, specifically for the dance program?
Yeah, so I saw a little bit of this question come up. So obviously, she talked about adding in the kick line. So I think, that can be such a crowd pleaser. I love a kick line. It's something that's been part of every dance team that I've coached, and I feel like it's something that the fans really tend to love to see out of a dance team. So obviously, I did a lot of kick lines being in the NFL. That's a very common dance that you'll see on the sidelines for an NFL cheerleaders. I think bringing that to the sidelines here at Wake Forest makes a huge impact. But I think a lot of it was just, showcasing their skills and talents. I think adding that third quarter dance has been huge, and learning new choreography. And these girls are extremely talented. And so I think them, and a lot of them have been able to tell me how much they've loved being able to showcase some of their skills. Like, you'll be able to see their aerials and their turns where maybe they wouldn't be able to do that in just a sideline palm routine.
Another question that came in is, are you considering expanding your coaching staff? I'd love for you to talk about this as a goal of mine, so I'd love for you to talk about this as well.
Yeah, so we definitely eventually want to have a dance team coach. COVID right now, there is a hiring freeze at Wake Forest, so we're not able to hire, but that's our goal is, we to make sure all our funding is in place and that we can hire a dance team coach. That would be fantastic. So, really what I'm looking for in a dance team coach is someone that's going to implement the kind of style that I want to see the dance team. I want to see them moving forward, being progressive, doing different types of dance styles, and someone that's going to be a strong choreographer that can be able to put out weekly material quickly, and that's going to be fresh for the fans. So they're not seeing the same things. They're seeing lots of new different styles, and I think that's really going to be a top priority when finding that position.
And I'll add to that, we've already had some really generous support from alums in helping us fund that position and really just fund this entire restructure from having 3 part-time coaches to a full-time coach and then a full-time dance coach as well, or a part-time dance coach as well, which we'd love long-term to get to a full-time coach as well. I know Christy would love that as well. So we really appreciate that support already. And I know there also is a matching gift opportunity out there right now as well for a match up to $100,000 to help us in funding that dance position and in funding future of the dance program and uniforms, those kind of things, which we'll get to in a bit about some of your future goals for things you need and immediately and in the future. Last question I have here from Alex was, what steps have you taken to promote inclusivity on the existing team, and how do you plan to grow your diversity on the team in the future?
Yeah, so obviously this has been, huge in the media and surrounding, everyone, and it's an important conversation that everyone needs to have. So my thing is I wanted to make sure that everyone's voices and opinions felt seen and heard. I thought that was so important. So I talked to my seniors and all my leadership and all my seniors, because we do have 6 seniors. And, the biggest thing they want was a unified front. And I thought that was such a strong statement from them. And I wanted it to be from them and not from myself. And so the ACC put out a great unity statement that's read before the national anthem. And so their choice was to link arms and make sure that we show that we are a unified front as a spirit program. And so, I thought it was really important that it was their decision and how they wanted to represent themselves as a program. And so, I think everything has been a step in the right direction.
A question we had come in from Aaron, 2014 graduate of the program, to ask about stunning and what are your goals for implementing stunning back into the program. And I'll tell you, I can say for this first, when I interviewed Christy, she is very passionate about stunning and has a great skill set and experience on that. So in watching practices, and I try to go out every now and then and watch some practices, she is doing a great job at this already. But maybe talk about, what you've already done from a stunning perspective and your goals going forward.
Yeah, so I think coming into it, that just wasn't the top goal and priority for the program in the past. And so that's always my top goal and priority. Like, I want to be throwing collegiate level skills. Like, that's where I see us going. And I think that's why we want to grow co-ed. We want to improve that. So I have seen, so for all my former cheerleaders, I have seen co-ed and all girl. We started off with just toss to hands and working on just basic extensions and, right at prep level. And now we're working on full ups and switch ups all girl. Co-ed's working on QPs. We're working on toss libs. And that's in a 2-month progression that I've seen. We've been doing lots of collegiate level pyramids as well. So toss 2-2-1 from a toe pitch with co-ed, and going through each 2.5 high pyramid progression as a program. The big thing I will say is I'm big on safety. So we might want to do all those things, but we've started from the bottom and made sure that technique was correct. Everyone knew what they were doing, and we moved through from a progression standpoint. That's always how I coach. We didn't just come in and start throwing things. So it's been a 2-month progression, but the last few weeks I've really seen them really soar. So if you're not following our social media, we try to post like new skills and stuff that we're throwing since we're not going to be throwing them on the sidelines for football this year. So I think going into 2021, hopefully we'll be back on those sidelines and you'll see some amazing stunting next fall.
Thanks for that. And I'll remind everybody as we get to the final, kind of the home stretch of this, feel free to shoot questions you might have in the Q&A or in the chat to us, and we'll do our best to answer those if you do have them for things we have not addressed already. Love to ask you overall just about your biggest needs for the program going forward. I know camp is important to you and getting the team to camp. I know choreography is important. Maybe talk about just what you feel like are the biggest needs for the program, and maybe even how our alumni can help us be involved in meeting those goals.
Yeah, so I think camp is super important for both cheer and dance. I think that needs to be equal. I think in the past they've taken a limited number of students to go to camp just because of cost. And so I think it's important, one, you have a team bonding. I feel like it's important that everyone goes. Like, I don't want to take, 10 from dance and 10 from cheer. I would love to see the full program get to attend. I think it's super important. Dance learns lots of great choreography that they can use and, be fresh and new, learn new things. Also, if we're going away to camp, depending on COVID restrictions, you're getting to see what other programs are doing, and maybe they're doing something that we can implement, or we're doing something they can implement, and it showcases your team against other teams. And I think it, gives you a nice, friendly kind of competitive nature at camp that really gives you an extra push. And then on the cheer side, this is where we are updated on all the new ACCA rules for college cheerleading. This is where we're learning new skills. Every year they're coming up with something new and crazy, and this is where we learn it. So I think it's just, instrumental for our program to begin our year at camp. And I feel like that sets the tone for the entire year. So camp is very important. Cheer, my next priority would be a full set of mats. We currently have 2 that, from my understanding, have been here for a while. So that's a top priority, is getting those new mats. Again, it's for safety. So the mats aren't there to look pretty. They're there to protect us when we're doing our skills. And then I'll let Rhett kind of update this too a little bit, but we have updated the brand at Wake Forest. So the WF looks a little bit different than it did a couple years ago. And currently our uniforms I think with the exception of maybe one, have the old logo. So we want to eventually update all of our uniforms to make sure we're within the brand that Wake Forest is, putting forward. And then obviously we want to make sure we have a dance team coach coming in as well.
Absolutely. And like I mentioned earlier, we really appreciate already the amount of support we have had in accomplishing some of these goals. Just in getting Christy's position here and in a full-time role we had a number of generous alumni who came in and helped us in doing so. And we'd love to continue. If you have direct questions or conversation, I'm happy to connect with you. Christy's happy to connect with anybody who wants to dive in and, figure out how they might be able to help us individually as we look to meet some of these goals down the road. We really would appreciate it. I have one question that came in a second ago as well, Christy. I'm going to ask you related to tumbling. So the question said, historically, Wake Forest had a really strong tumbling program and being able to have that strong skill set. I know you have come in with that being a priority now of getting the tumbling back to a really high standard. I know the girls have really appreciated that and the training you've already given in that. Maybe talk about just tumbling and kind of your experience there and what you are all doing right now to bring that back to a really high standard.
Yeah, so I think one thing we would love to do, and this could be something else that we could use help with, is getting into a local gymnastics facility. Like, we don't have a gymnastics program at Wake Forest, so a lot of other D1 schools or ACC schools have a gymnastics program, so their cheerleaders can use their gymnastics facility. So we don't have that kind of opportunity here, so we would have to go to like a local gymnastics place or a local cheerleading gym. So I think getting them into a location where they can go and utilize their equipment and floor is always really helpful to grow those skills. Next year, we will be having a tumbling requirement. It doesn't mean that all the current girls would not make the team. I'm not saying that. But we will be having that from here on out. They will be required. If you are going to cheer at Wake Forest, you have to have tumbling moving forward. So every recruit that I have met with so far does have those skills. So I think most cheerleaders in today's time, if they would like to be a collegiate cheerleader, are already going to have those skills. So that's the kind of cheerleader we're looking at moving forward.
One thing that's unique about your role and the way your role has been set up here is that you are involved in the fan experience side of the department. You mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'd love to just ask you about that and how you feel like maybe that's been beneficial to you. And I can definitely speak from my side and how beneficial it's been on our side of, like I said earlier, you being an advocate for the program, being in meetings, but maybe talk about that side of the role and just being a part of the overall fan experience staff and team.
Yeah, so I've loved being in the office. Like, I love working within the athletic department. I feel like it's been great to hear the conversations. Sometimes it would be like, oh yeah, this would have been great for cheer and dance to do, but it was an afterthought or an after conversation. And now I'm like, hey, cheer and dance can do that. Like, yeah, we'll be there. We'll do this. We'll do that. And so, I'm the person that's going to make sure that, like, if there is any opportunity for us to be seen and showcased and, put out in the community, I want to make sure that we're there and we're doing it. So, but I've loved seeing, like, more behind the scenes. My role before was very part-time. So a lot of times it was an after conversation. And now, like, I'm a part of all of those conversations. And I feel like it gives more opportunities for our cheerleaders and dancers by having me here.
One thing I think has come out of that recently that might be good for you to talk about is just how that has allowed you all to be involved in community engagement opportunities. The Dukes Mayo event a few weeks ago. Maybe talk about just things you've already done from that perspective, and what are your goals overall as far as being involved in the community and having that connection with the city of Winston-Salem?
Yeah, so community service is something that's very important to me. So I've kind of always coined it as volunteer, as a spirit program. So that's kind of my, like, little thing that I always tell them. So I told them, like, whatever the hours were, I think it was 7, per semester. I was like, let's get 10 per semester. Our job as a cheerleader or dancer is you're an ambassador for the school. Like, when you see a cheerleader or dancer, you think Wake Forest. So I told them, like, anywhere we go and it says that WF on our chest on that uniform, we wear that with pride because we are Wake Forest spirit. And I want them to go out in the community and not just cheer and dance. I want them to serve, and I want them to know the importance and the value of being a member of a community. And I think, volunteering is just so important. And I think, that Dukes Mayo event, I think they said, over 200 families that day, and we had cheerleaders and dancer out there, and it wasn't, a glamorous event. They weren't in uniform. They were out there doing work. And I think that's just so important because my big thing as a coach is I want to make them exceptional young men and young women, and then I want to make them an exceptional cheerleader and dancer.
it was great to see them out there at that Dukes Mayo event. There's 350 cars came through that day, and our spirit programs from mascot to cheer to dance were all working a tent and stocking cars with food pantry items. It was really, really great to see. And I know Dukes Mayo appreciate it as well. We talked a lot about cheer and dance. Maybe also let's talk about the mascot program for a second. I know you have some great goals there as well and already doing some great things and getting them more involved. Maybe talk about just what are your goals for the mascot program and how that program looks to evolve going forward.
Yeah, so we do have a great mascot coordinator as well who works on the fan experience side. So Patrick and I work well together to just make sure we have great opportunities for our mascots. But one fun thing that we've incorporated is the mascot is involved in all of the dance team third quarter dances. So new for the Deacon this year is he learned how to dance this year. And so, we definitely want to see some moves coming forward from anyone wanting to try out for that position and just make him more interactive and fun. And so I think we have a lot of great opportunities for the mascot to be really visible in the community, which again, like people see the Deacon, they think of Wake Forest, and I think that's, really what it represents. But I've loved working with the mascots this year and teaching them some moves. It's been great.
If you haven't seen those dance videos that have had the mascot involved in our great dance program as well, definitely check those out. They're available each week for our virtual season ticket program. And love to have you check those out. Or if you're at the game in person, they'll be shown in person each week as well. And this week we actually have a free virtual pep rally that is airing at 9 p.m. on Friday night. And I can't remember which dance it is, but one of the dances in that video this week. So it'll be a great opportunity to watch that as well. A question we had come in the Q&A a minute ago talks about just the balance you have right now of managing and coaching really 2 and 3 programs as one coach. And I know you are burning the midnight oil out right now and doing that. Maybe just talk about how you're balancing that and being able to really serve all the programs, and maybe how you're also involving volunteers for that. And if anyone else is interested in doing that, how they can get involved in that aspect.
Well, if you didn't know about me personally, I have 3 kids. So if I can handle all 3 of my children, I can handle all 3 of these programs. So I'm used to kind of, juggling a lot. And I definitely feel like I can balance it. And so right now for cheer and dance, I do have a volunteer, a former dancer has come in and helping us with the dance team. And so she's been great. Like, she knew the history of the program, but she also really wanted to hear my vision and how to implement that. So I've really loved working with her. She was only here until December, and then, hopefully we're looking to eventually hire that person. So she's been wonderful to work with and kind of balancing. But a lot of times I'm with cheer, and then I run over to dance, and then the mascot rolls in, and then I tell him what he's going to be doing. So it's a lot of just moving parts, but making sure that, everybody's doing. But I think the agenda also that we talked about earlier in our weekly doc, that really helps because everybody knows the expectations of practice. We don't sit at practice. Like, that's not an option. So everybody knows the agenda. They know what to expect. But yeah, I think having all my kids helps keep me balanced.
I think you have to tell the group what your son's name is.
Yeah, so if you did not know, so I have 2 girls and a boy. So I have a 9-year-old Eloise, I have a 4-year-old Everly, and now I have a 2-year-old, and his name is Deacon. So I have my own little baby Deacon at home as well.
That's one of the first things I learned. She made sure to drop that in her interview with me. So that was I remember that well. A question we had come in as well a few minutes ago from Jeff talked about, many programs are focused on performance as opposed to crowd participation. What are your goals to increase and even find ways to really use your program to engage the crowd at events and focus on that in-game fan experience?
Yeah, I think it's both. So our job as a cheerleader and a dancer is to engage the crowd. We want that fan interaction. So a lot of the things we're doing is we're implementing a lot more of the tools that we already had in our toolbox. We have a lot of flags, we have signs, and I think that's where, like, if we have an alumni at the game, you guys can help us. Like, if we're doing a cheer, please cheer with us, cheer and dancers. Like, we need that. We need that kind of participation. And then, the guy beside of you that has no idea what's going on, you're helping as well. So I think that's an important factor, but I feel like you have to put on a good show. A crowd wants to be entertained. That's what a good fan experience is that we've entertained them and they feel they've walked away from that game and feel like, oh, wow, like cheerleader dancers were great today. It's because we engaged you. We've, entertained you for the night. So, dance team's done this great performance, but cheerleaders got you yelling, let's go Deeks at the game. That makes you feel part of the game as well. So I think they're equally both important to kind of mesh together for a full game day experience.
We talked a minute ago about just your overall long-term vision and goals for the program as a whole, but we had a question come in that just asked specifically about what are some of your long-term visions for the dance program?
Yeah, so I could, see in the future that the dance team could compete. But I think, there's things that have to come first. And I think, getting all of our staff in place and, making sure all our funding is there for that. That's something that I feel like could be a long-term goal because they are extremely talented. And I know we have a great dance program here at Wake Forest as well. I know right now I have 2 presidential scholars on the dance team. So, we have some extremely talented dancers, but I think just also improving those performances, getting them more visible. Let's, even if we're in the non-COVID year, still doing some filming and opportunities where we can highlight them on social media or on our website and, really presenting them to the public and showcasing, their skills, across Wake Forest Nation and, anyone that else wants to come and watch.
You mentioned a second ago, the university dance program. And, one thing you and I talked about a lot in the interview process, and actually for those of you who don't know, we actually had them involved in our interview search committee for this position. Maybe just talk about, how you see that as a benefit in ways you can use that partnership to grow the dance program overall.
Yeah, I think it's a huge draw for these dancers to come in and still have dance, especially, they're not going to come to the dance team and still be actively involved in ballet through us. Like that's not what we're doing on the field or on the sidelines. So I think it's, a great opportunity for them to be dance, but I feel like those dancers that come in are extremely talented and, can utilize the classes they take every day to grow their skills. So like I just actually met with a dancer this morning and she was talking about how she takes ballet every single year just to make sure she can, still be up to date and fresh, in her ballet. And I think that's such a fundamental part of being a dancer and it's a great opportunity for a Wake Forest student and dancer.
Well, I have a couple of final questions for you before we wrap up here. The first, I'm going to put you on the spot. I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but you did it a minute ago, but maybe just tell us about your family, and what it's been like to move to Winston-Salem in this community. You weren't too far away, but just tell us about your family and outside of work, who is Christy Creson?
Yeah. So, yes, I mentioned I have my 3 kids and, we do a lot of stuff as a family. My husband is a teacher at East Forsyth High School, and he's their strength coach and he's a football coach as well. So he is offensive line and strength and conditioning. So we are definitely an athletic family. Both my girls dance. Deacon's too little to do anything yet, but I'm sure he'll be playing football before long. And so I was actually offered the job on a Friday. We came up on a Sunday and made an offer of a house on a Monday, and we closed in 3 weeks. And we sold our house in 1 day in Hickory. So it was a very quick transition, but we love Winston-Salem. We've loved living here, and I've just truly loved being at Wake Forest. Like everyone has been so incredibly welcoming. I think the campus is just beautiful. Like I feel like it's like the Disney World of campuses. Like everywhere I go, I just feel like it's so beautiful. And I've just really enjoyed being here. One of our favorite things is we have a park in our neighborhood, and a greenway. So our family really likes to be active. So we go down to the park almost every day or go on the greenway. But we like to be pretty active and enjoy. And then my biggest hobby is I love to work out. So I work out almost every day at 6:30. That's my favorite exercise and way to kind of relieve stress.
Well, my last question for you, we've kind of alluded to this a few times, but just to ask directly and to inform all of our alumni on this call today, what are ways they can engage and support you and support the future of the program?
Yeah, so the biggest thing obviously is like when you can attend games, make sure you're following us on social media. I think those things are really important, and I would love for, to connect with some of y'all. If y'all ever want to reach out, please call me. I would love to hear what your experiences were like as a cheerleader and a dancer, and, or if you have ways you feel like would be great opportunities for the Wake Forest Spirit Program. Those are things I love to hear. Shoot me an email. But, obviously we can always use financial support too to continue to grow the program. I think that's going to be huge. So to get the things that we need, to get them to go to camp, to get the mats, to get uniforms, to give them every opportunity that we can to make this the best opportunity for them as a student athlete, but also for the program as a whole.
Thanks so much, Christy, and I appreciate all of your time today and answering all these questions. One thing at the beginning, I did not introduce myself, so I'm Rhett Hobart, oversee Associate AD for Fan Experience and Brand Development. So Christy and I are both fairly new to the family here. I joined the group in April, and so I'll just say overall how much Christy and I both appreciate the support of all of our alumni for this program. I can tell you since coming on board and looking at how we were going to push this program forward, I have talked to so many alumni who have been giving such great feedback, support, both just in conversations and financially. We really appreciate all of that and look forward to that, continuing to have great conversation with each of you. We appreciate how you support us outside of games right now and just keep people engaged with Wake Forest. We could not do without each of you and your support, and we appreciate your time today joining us on the call. Anything from you to wrap it up, Christy?
No, I mean, I think everyone had some great questions and, loved hearing, from different people that have been part of this program.
All right. Well, thanks again. If we can do anything for any of you, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Our emails are both on the website, and we're happy to connect with you and set a time to talk. So thanks again for all of your support. Go Deeks.